Hi there! When you're done with this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and also hit the bell for notifications so you can always see the video first. But most importantly, enjoy the show. Hello, this is Zeke Fowler, and welcome to Second Chances, the review show where I give second chances. And the debut series on Second Chances is Smallville, of which we will be looking at the pilot for Smallville. Now, let me give you my reason why I didn't like Smallville in the first place. You see, Smallville is a show that aired from 2000 to 2011. And during that time, I was in middle school to high school. Well, actually, no, it's like 2000. Actually, third grade. Never mind, the third grade. I was from the third grade, middle school to, wow. Yeah, okay, so third grade, 2000. I graduate in 2010. Yeah. So yeah, this show has been on literally the entirety of my childhood. Huh. How about that? Anywho, the reason I didn't give this show a chance was because I saw it as wussifying or girlifying Superman into a poppy TV show for girls to like it. Which is funny because when Zack Snyder's Superman came out, I hated it for being overly masculine and like not empathetic enough and being too much for boys, but so that's funny on me. But anyway, that was like it was literally just like tween misogyny. We're just like, no, this is for girls, so it's bad. And so now, I'm a grown ass man now, and I was bored and had nothing to watch. And so then look, Smallville. And I was like, oh fuck it, I'll watch this for a lark. And it turns out it's actually good. Now, is it still for teen girls? Absolutely. The target audience was absolutely 14-year-old high school girls, but does this make the show bad or disrespectful to the American iconographic figure that is Superman? And the answer is fuck. How'd I phrase that? Yes or no? Which one's the yes or no is the bad one or the good one? And I can't remember now. But the show is good, despite it being very dated. Very, very dated. Like, kids, this is some boomer shit, let me tell you. And the special effects, the special effects being very dated, and the writing being very dated. The whole sum of its parts are actually quite good, from the show to respecting Superman's source material and all of that. It actually does an incredible job, and it's chocked full of references, and it's even chocked full of setups that won't matter fucking 8 years from when this episode actually aired, because the people working on this cared about Superman and DC Comics that much. Like, this is, like, despite it not being meant for me, to say that the people didn't care when making this is a lie. But, we'll get into the show more proper at this point. So, before we get into stuff I really enjoyed about the pilot, let's get into the thing I really did not like about this pilot. And it's not that bad, actually, because most of my complaints are nitpicks, kind of like I mentioned before. Like, it's dated, it's of its time. I am not a 14-year-old girl, so I will never fully grasp everything about what this show is meant to be or for. But There's this scene where Clark and Lana Lang meet in a cemetery, and it is supposed to be kind of a character moment where it's like, kind of shows that like without the kryptonite necklace she wears that turns Clark into a goofball, that he has some game, and he is a proper beau for her. But it also establishes that they're both adopted, which we know because her parents got crushed in a fucking meteor, and pretty much they have a lot more in common that they have a lot more in common than not. But there's this one thing where it's just like Lana's going, "Oh yeah, I like to go to the cemetery and talk to my parents, and I know that's weird. Who would talk to dead people?" I don't know, Lana. Everybody at a cemetery. That's where you go to talk to dead people. Cemetery. Like, this scene had to exist to establish things, but it sucks. It just fucking sucks. It's not. Ugh. And the other thing I find weird, but it's kind of like one of those. And then here's another thing I don't like about the show, but it works out later and it totally smooths itself in. But Lex Luthor, despite the fact that this is everyone's favorite, this is apparently like a generation, and even now, everyone's favorite version of Lex Luthor. He feels so out of place in this show. Like, he's old, like the cast are nebulously aged teenagers so they can do, so they can do sex sells gross bullshit, but he's very much an adult who has been to high school and college, and he's like, "Yo, Clark, you wanna hang, bro?" And like, I get he's Lex Luthor, he has ulterior motives, and like, he can totally serve as like the dark mentor, which he does in later episodes, but despite Clark saving him from his death, why is a grown-ass man hanging out with a 14-year-old? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Like, if we weren't in a scenario where like Lex Luthor saw a 14-year-old boy use his superpowers to rescue him from death, this whole scenario is fucked up, and like John being like, "Don't talk to that fucking Luthor guy," totally makes like all the sense in the world. Alright, but that's all the things I hated. And like, no, the Lex Luthor parts get better. They weave him into the show better. I'm just saying, like, Lex Luthor feels like he's in the show because, well, that's Superman's arch nemesis, so he has to be here. Even though like only in like 2 of his like Superman's revised origin stories is Lex Luthor have anything to do with Smallville, but he's whatever. He's here because I guess he has to be, but Lex Luthor doesn't. It feels like he doesn't. It gets better, but he, as the show, because I've been watching the show. I'm still watching the show, but it doesn't. Anyway, those are the things I did. Those are the things I did not like. Let's get into the things I like now. So yeah, like I said, everything is completely like, even though they do make some major alterations, which I'm actually really okay with. It's damn faithful to Superman's like Superboy days. I mean, he doesn't wear a costume because this was the era of television where superheroes and super characters were like, believe it or not, before the oversaturation of superheroes, there was a point in time in which people thought they were dumb and cringe. Well, now people think they're dumb and cringe, but there was a point in time where people thought they were dumber and cringer. The 2000s was that era. Anyway, he doesn't wear the costume, but it's basically the same Superboy shit. Like, he crash lands, Martha and Jonathan Kent find him, and their lives are changed forever in the best way. And Martha and John are like the best parents ever. Even if they are wrong, like it's not bad. They're really, they just lucked out and turned out to be the best parents on the planet. And they kept that. Lex Luthor losing his hair because of something tangentially related to Superman is a cute joke, even though what that is even though it's childhood leukemia that gives him it. But whatever. It is. It's like, that's a fun reference. The stuff about Lana Lang having like magic shit that happens in later seasons is also hinted at in the pilot with her little fairy princess outfit and her casting spells. It's kind of, they play with some things and they set some stuff up. But the biggest change I really like, and is shown off in the pilot, is this utterly brutal scene in which chunks of Krypton fucks up Smallville and radically changes it and its economy forever, turning it from a farm town to a tourist trap. And what all the stuff and all the change and stuff it's come from that. It's real. That's actually pretty interesting. Also, something that someone else pointed out to me that I didn't realize when watching it, a bunch of asteroids going along with Clark's ship actually gives him cover to make his spaceship extra undetectable. So if anybody has an excuse of like, oh, how come they couldn't find the spaceship when he crash landed? I don't know, because people were paying more attention to the giant hunks of rock that were smashing into buildings and people. It's clever. It's damn clever. And then here's the other change they do that it's a little sacrosanct to the comics, but I like it and I get why it exists. Where kryptonite is deadly to Clark and Kryptonian, it has the opposite effect on humans. In fact, it's radiation. It's constantly radioactive, like any radioactive material should be. That's like one logical change I really like. It grants humans superpowers, or like from what I've seen so far, powers themed around Clark's abilities. I mean, they're tangentially related in some ways, but they're I don't know. They're paying attention to it. Like we fight an electric guy, and electric blue Superman. That's a whatever, but it's in there, and no, I like that change. But then getting in more into the plot and everything, they do a good job like establishing how these meteors affect our three main characters, Lana, Lex, and Clark. After the whole meteor shower, which is brutal and deadly, we come to the future and like everybody's acclimated, but also Smallville goes from this bright, happy town to this kind of moody, cynical one because it's a tourist trap and the Lex Luthor fertilizer thing. By the way, I love this change. That why are the Luthors like what do the Luthors make their money from? Fertilizer. The Luthors are full of shit. that's a very, very clever Smallville writers. But then and like everybody's kind of like it's totally this good explanation of why like this little town's so moody and like angsty, because it's completely gentrified and fucked over by a horrible event and everybody living through it. And then there's also like he's crushing hard on Lana, and because he has to. That's how it was in the comics. But there's a new character I like they've added, which is like a Clark's rival character, Whitney. I mean, it's the guy who plays Homelander. I can't not mention it. Also, like, another reason to watch this episode, there's a Homelander versus Superman fight, and Homelander wins. So, yeah. But also, I kind of like Whitney as a character, if I may explain myself, and then there's probably some people watch this go, how can you say you like Whitney? Like, Whitney is your stereotypical, like, douchey bro jock, but his hatred of Clark is 100% justified, if I may explain myself. Clark's always going, hey Lana, and like trying to like gawk at her and like do these things, and he's like, dude, it's his girlfriend. She's taken. Take the hint. Fuck off. Like he's like his like granted, him beating the shit out of him and like crucifying him as the town scarecrow, like the main villain also did, which the dark parallel trope. There's even a part where like where like Clark's crucified, the guy got scarecrowed before him's like, I can let you down if you help me school shooter all of the kids in the Smallville homecoming dance. And Clark's like, what? No, It's entirely unreasonable. Like, I may beat the shit out of Whitney next time I see him, but, like, I'm not gonna... The whole school doesn't deserve it, you know? And it's like, fuck you, die. And it's like... I don't know, it shows that even, like, under, like, the most... Even though Clark's like, yeah, I mean, I do try to bird dog his lady. I was asking for trouble at some point. Like, you should... Well, does Clark deserve to be strung up in his undies in the cornfield with kryptonite around his neck? Probably not, but... I don't know. Whitney's hatred of Clark is justified. I'm just gonna put that out there. Him being fuck Clark does no favors for himself in the whole Whitney situation. Clark deserved it, but that doesn't stop Clark, from once he's down and Lex saves him, It goes to show that Lex Luthor has hidden depths, and he's not quite evil yet because, saved Clark, found him randomly, took his chance to save him, and, didn't abandon him afterwards. He wasn't like, we're even now, I don't have to deal with you. He's like, no, this kid's cool. This cool kid. I'm a grown man, and I think this is a cool kid. I'm sorry, it's fucking weird. It's so fucking weird. But, if you look at the actors, because all the actors are playing these people are, like, all in their fucking 30s, or, like, in their late 20s, early 30s, so, like, it doesn't look as weird, like, in context, but, like, when you really sit down and think about it, everyone's age, it's very weird. But, no, and then, like, Clark defeats the monster of the week, the meteor freak, as they're called, and he learns the most important lesson of any superhero. Good deeds come with no reward. Yeah, you stopped the whole school from being, from getting school shooter carried, but no one saw you do it, no one's ever gonna see you do it, and no one's ever gonna care you did it. But, and everyone's safe. And that's a good lesson for, like, Clark to learn, but also that's a good lesson for, I think, anyone to learn, that doing good is its own reward. Like, you shouldn't get pussy just because you stopped a school shooter. You stopped a school shooter. That's amazing. But anyway, that's my second chancing of Smallville. I got a little ranty about it. No, it's like I said, it's very dated. The special effects are bad for their time, but the show itself is still very solid, and it also like, kind of made me realize you can't do a show like this anymore. Not that you couldn't do, like, an origin story or something like that, but I mean, like, you can't really do, like, a long-form Monster of the Week adventure story anymore. With the advent of streaming, everything has to be, like, a solid, cohesive 8-episode story to justify the budget put into it. You can't just have, like, a bunch of assholes touring around Canada for 11 years. But, yeah, that's that, and I'll do more of it. So, yeah, I'm happy I gave Smallville the second chance. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. I am Zeke Fowler. I operate Cosmic_Rejects, a gaming channel on YouTube where I post archived content. Zeke Rambles on YouTube, my review channel where I review pop culture. And Zeke Cosmic Rejects, my Twitch channel, where I record the games, which will later be chopped up, edited, and archived onto the YouTube channel, Cosmic Rejects. Here's their schedules going forward.